What's good? It's Woog. Boxing super talent Gary Russell Jr. is back versus Tugstsogt Nyambayar. This is actually considered to be a unification bout at featherweight 126 pounds. Gary Russell Jr. holds the WBC belt and Nyambayar's got the IBO title. And if you look at the IBO's recent history of champs, you'll see that it's a pretty unremarkable list. IBO is not considered to be one of the four major sanctioning bodies. Those would be the WBC, which Russell holds, the WBA, the IBF, and then the WBO. Those first three are probably more significant than the fourth. Opinions differ. But yeah, the IBO, which Nyambayar holds, not regarded as one of the major titles. In fact, most boxing fans will have to go back to Johnny Gonzalez, who held this lesser IBO belt in 2010, before you see a recognizable name on that list of champions. You might have seen Gonzalez's knockout win over Abner Mares in 2013, or his knockout loss to Gary Russell Jr. in 2015. That's the fight where Russell captured the WBC title. And before that, you'd have to go all the way back to like Prince Nassim Hamed and Marco Antonio Barrera in 2002 and 2001 to find another big name there. And the IBO is one of the youngest and newest sanctioning bodies to issue out a title. The first IBO champ in the division was Derek Smoke Gaynor. That was Roy Jones' little homie in '93, who would always fight on Roy Jones undercards through much of Jones' career. So the IBO featherweight belt hasn't even been around for very long, and there's been a super high turnover in champs, other than Thomas Mashaba, who defended it successfully 4 times between 2005 and 2008. Most IBO champs in this division lose the belt in their very next fight, or dump the belt for some other opportunity. So the current belt holder in this merry-go-round is Tugstsogt Nyambayar, who just won the belt a year ago, hasn't fought since. He's 11-0 as a pro with 9 knockouts, but not exactly against the who's who in the sport. More like the who? He's ranked 6th in the division by Ring Magazine, just behind rising superstar Shakur Stevenson at number 5. Superstar might be a little tough. Shakur Stevenson is a growing name in popularity and has prospects of being a star, but he's not there yet. Although he's looking damn impressive every time he steps in there. He's definitely on that upward trajectory. Maybe just a step behind like the Teofimo Lopez's is or the Gervonta Davis. He's more in the Devin Haney category where more time and more fights are needed to see where these guys really shake out in the division. So Nyambayar is a young fighter who's earned one of the least glamorous belts in the division, and he's fighting who I consider to be one of the most gifted talents in the sport over the past 10 years, especially in terms of hand speed. Gary Russell Jr. is lightning fast, and it's a damn shame that in his 11-year, 31-fight career has fought very few notable opponents. His biggest fights have been the knockout win against Johnny Gonzalez to earn his WBC title, the decision win against the then undefeated Joseph Jojo Diaz, who actually just beat Tevin Farmer last weekend. And then Russell's other notable fight was his only loss to Vasyl Lomachenko by decision. This was in Lomachenko's 3rd professional fight in 2014. He'd gotten 2 Olympic gold medals as an amateur, he being Lomachenko. Extensive amateur history, one of the greatest amateur careers ever. And so he turned pro kind of late, like at 23, so by the time he was a pro, he was already a fully developed fighter. And Lomachenko's record at the time of the Russell fight was only 1-1. He lost a decision to veteran action-packed fighter Orlando Salido in his 2nd fight. But if you look at Russell and Lomachenko's career since their showdown and compare the activity, you'll see that Lomachenko's fought 12 times since their bout, winning them all, and Russell has only fought 6 times, also winning them all. So Lomachenko's had double the activity, and Russell's basically been fighting about once a year. Most elite fighters will fight twice a year, assuming everything is cool health-wise. And also assuming that there's no major promotional dispute like Mikey Garcia had and Andre Ward had in their careers, where they don't fight for sometimes 2 to 3 years, depending on how bad the business is with their promoters. Now, because of boxing business, Russell hasn't fought the best of his peers. Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz, now Josh Warrington. Santa Cruz just went up to fight at 130, and Warrington is close to making the fight happen with the division's emerging American star Shakur Stevenson as I mentioned, one of boxing's fastest rising talents, along with some other new schoolers, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, Virgil Ortiz Jr., and Gervonta Tank Davis. I do hope they make that Warrington-Stevenson fight. Warrington beat then-champ Lee Selby for the IBF title, different from the IBO. The IBF is a major title. And then he beat former champ Carl Frampton back-to-back. This would be a huge test for the 22-year-old Stevenson. I think that this is a very tough fight. But back to this Russell fight. This is one of Russell's biggest fights since Nyambayar is a top 10 guy in the division. If Russell isn't too rusty from this one fight a year schedule and hasn't declined in athleticism at 31 years old, he should be able to handle the 27-year-old from Mongolia. Now, Nyambayar is almost 4 inches taller than Russell, but I don't think that that's going to be a huge advantage down the stretch. I think that it'll eventually be neutralized. Russell's speed should offset it if he's bringing his best. And for every Russell fight, I keep thinking that every Russell Jr. win will position him for a big fight, but it just doesn't seem to happen. But I'll hope, once again, that if he can look good in a win versus Nyambayar, that he gets a fight against one of the big names in or around the division. I wouldn't love Russell's chances up at 130, though. He's already pretty short for the division, about 5'5", maybe 5'4", 5'5". And usually when you go up in weight, especially in your early 30s, it only gets tougher to hurt and to not get hurt. The power that you dish out usually becomes less, and the power that you're receiving becomes more. In this fight, Russell's up against a tough, undefeated, and confident fighter who can hit really hard. Good counter uppercuts, a big right hand, but who also gets hit. Watch his fight versus Eskandon. Before decimating Eskandon, Nyambayar is getting hit regularly in the first couple rounds, and Gary Russell Jr. can really splash, electrifying hand speed. I can't stress that speed enough. I've got Russell winning this by stoppage. I trust that he's in good shape and isn't too rusty. The difficulty for Russell will be closing the distance because of the height gap without getting tagged by this heavy-hitting younger opponent. I think that he gets it done. I just don't want to see this win result in nothing big. I don't want to see Russell's talent go to waste in not having higher profile, career-defining fights versus boxing's best. But let me know what you think of this fight, about the featherweight division, and about Gary Russell Jr., his talent, his career, or his opponent, Tugstsogt Nyambayar. Remember to tune in for the fight, and please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.